Welcome to The Next Level, a brand new series on AACPS TV. I'm Katie Holmes. I have decided to celebrate March with a March Madness special edition. I have with me today a former athlete who played basketball in high school. He is certainly a role model for all Anne Arundel County Public Schools athletes and students. He went on to play at the college level with quite a few accolades and holds records in the NCAA. With me today is our new superintendent, Dr. Bedell. Please welcome Dr. Bedell. Thank you for being here today and sharing your personal story with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
You grew up in Rochester, New York. You have 8 siblings. What age did you get involved in sports?
I got involved in sports probably when I was 4 or 5. I picked up basketball and fell in love with it at that age and pretty much utilized the sport of basketball to carry me through to where I am now, today, even as a superintendent, leveraging basketball.
For love of basketball. What high school did you attend?
I attended Edison Technical and Vocational High School in Rochester, New York. And, during that time, I was an athlete, but I also, developed a trade while I was there, which was electrical construction.
Okay, I didn't know that. What kind of student were you in high school?
I was an average student. I will tell people that I made my mistakes just like many high school students do and have. And I've learned from them most certainly, but I was probably a below average student up until halfway through my 10th grade year. And then from there, I just took off.
Took off. What changed and helped you take off? What helped you take off?
A teacher. There was a teacher who told me that I was academically talented and that I was throwing it away, and basically said you need to find somebody to talk to, because I was dealing with a lot of adversity outside of the school, and I was trying to cope and deal with it all on my own until this teacher kind of called me out on it. And a couple weeks later, I went back to the teacher and shared what I was going through. Mm-hmm. And then it just, from there, I just became free and really just started focusing on doing right in school. And it just changed the trajectory, in my opinion, for my life.
So one teacher has that power.
One teacher has that power. I often like to share with people that a teacher can be a dream destroyer or could be a dream maker. And yes, just in some of the words that they say, I tell people you can either breathe life into a student or you can kill them. And so this is an example of a teacher who breathed life into me and allowed for me to be able to pursue my dreams.
That's powerful. Did you have a favorite class in high school?
I did. I was real competitive with my best friend, and I would probably say, it was our history classes. At the end of the day, Mr. Barrett was he was my history homeroom teacher, so he never taught me, but I was in his homeroom for all 4 years, and that's the teacher that told me I was throwing it all away. But I did take government my senior year in high school, and I really enjoyed that class. But that was also another teacher that took me under her wings along with Mr. Barrett, and both of those teachers influenced me to become a teacher one day.
And we're going to see how that did influence you because of what you majored in and where that took you. So we're going to get to that. But you are 6'2". Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Were you dunking in high school?
Probably by my senior year, yeah. I'm one of those people who was blessed with a vertical to be able to come in the 9th grade and was dunking. That just wasn't for me. I was more of a shooter than anything. But by the time I got to my senior year, I was dunking, and then once I got into college, it was a whole different story in terms of, my ability to play above the rim.
Right. So you went on to play at college. Mm-hmm. What college did you attend? So
I attended Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee. It was a Division III school at the time. It is now NAIA. It is a historically black college university. Mm-hmm. And so I had an opportunity to play basketball there for 4 years. And it wasn't just basketball. I ran cross country to get in shape for basketball. And then I ran track in the spring. So I was pretty busy all 4 years in college, being an athlete on top of doing my schoolwork.
Your schoolwork. Can you share with me the recruitment process for you? Like when you transferred from high school to college?
Yeah, it's interesting. My journey is a lot different than probably what some of the viewers will hear. I was recruited to actually go to Buffalo State, and I was recruited for track. So they wanted to offer me a partial scholarship to go to Buffalo State. I needed to get away from Rochester. And so I decided to leave because I really didn't even want to be in that part of the country. At Fisk University, because it was Division III, they really don't offer scholarships at that level. Now, they offer scholarships now that they're NAIA, but for Division III, they didn't offer scholarships. They offered, packages of ways to help you with financial aid and work study and things like that, that allowed for me to matriculate through. But I just went to Fisk University and said, hey, I still want to play basketball. And I wasn't being recruited for basketball like that. It wasn't until I got to Fisk University and started playing. Then I had like some Division II schools that tried to recruit me out after my sophomore year. But at that point, I wasn't looking to transfer.
How did you make the decision to stay at Fisk? Like, what was it about Fisk that made you say yes?
It was the sense of community that had been created. So I am a starter. At the time when I got the phone call to potentially transfer to Morehouse, which would have put me on scholarship to go, I was averaging 21 points a game by that point, going into getting ready to head into my junior year. And I've just felt comfortable. I had joined a fraternity. My grades were moving up pretty well. So I just made that decision that I wasn't interested in leaving, and I wanted to finish up my career where I started it at Fisk.
So as a Fisk Bulldog, you played in 91 games. You were ranked number 11, making 321 three-pointers, averaged 3.41 three-pointers a game. Dr. Bedell, you're a baller. You are a baller. I mean, that's. I'm still not done. You were also an all-city runner, so you were a true athlete in every stretch of the word.
I leverage sports to keep me engaged in the academic process. I try to tell people that there is a reason why we should be pushing extracurricular experiences for our students, because they really do help you. They help you develop a well-rounded set of skills that can go with you for life, right? And so playing sports, you have to learn how to collaborate. You have to learn how to compromise. You have to learn that there's going to be failure that happens within the process. You're not going to always run every play the right way. You're not going to always lead in the right way, but you can learn from those mistakes that will carry you on throughout life. And so I just think that there's a lot of benefits that I also know that universities are looking for out of high school students. They want to know, how well-rounded are you? Right. Are you in a tribunal council? Are you a part of your school council, a student council, superintendent's advisory committee? They want to know, are you doing those things? So it's not always about playing sports. Right. It's just about being active and really understanding how to collaborate and work with people for the betterment of society in the end.
We have a saying in our athletic department that we're teaching life lessons through sports.
That's right.
That's right. And I also think that sports and clubs help you find a way to fit in.
It does.
It does.
I agree with that.
How do you set goals for yourself back then, like when you were in college?
Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm real competitive. I have issues, and I will not deny that. I tell people I don't like to lose at anything. And so, I wanted to make sure that I never would become ineligible to play again, because that happened to me in the 10th grade. That's part of what that teacher was sharing with me. And I said, I vow to never, ever become ineligible to play a sport again. And so just like understanding, I have my targets around the work that I need to do on my classroom, and how do I make sure that if I'm struggling, I have a schedule set to get in the library, do my studying, but even to get with my professors to get some help if I needed that help. But from a sports standpoint, when you hit college, you're kind of married to that program. Mm-hmm. It's vastly different between a Division I and II player versus a Division III player, because those Division I and II athletes, they're on a scholarship. So I know my daughter is on a Division II scholarship right now for volleyball at Virginia Union, and at the end of the day, you're having to do morning, sometimes afternoon, then you have your tutoring sessions, and then you're back at a game or you're back at practice at night. So you really do have to build your schedule around wanting to be the greatest athlete. When you hit college, you're going to college and you're playing sports, a lot of your time is going to be dedicated to sports, so you have to make sure that your academics and everything else is not compromised in how you set your schedules, but know you have to put your time in to be prepared to compete at a high level.
Congratulations to your daughter. And you're right, you're absolutely right. You have a lot of time that's involved in sports, but there's another piece of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's your grades, and you've got to manage. It's definitely a management. So some of our athletes, this is a really, I love this question. Some of our athletes play every second, and they're top producers here in high school. And then they go on to college, and they find themselves very similar to every other student that's there. Top producers at their high schools. Any advice to our athletes when faced with that?
Oh, I know that feeling, because you go from being on top of the world and being regarded as one of the best, and then when you enter into college, in most cases, you're just another person. You're
Right.
starting over. You are, in most cases, competing against people who are grown adults, like 21, 22 years old, that are like seniors on your team.
Right.
And you're having to come in and try to prove yourself. It can be very humbling.
Okay.
It was humbling for me when I entered into college and wasn't starting as a freshman. A lot of freshmen generally don't start, and depending on what level you play, in most cases you're probably going to redshirt and just learn the system, because this is the other thing with collegiate sports. The playbook is very complex. The things that you have to understand in terms of speed of the game, it's a whole different world from high school. And when you get into college, you go from Atari 2600, honestly, to like a PlayStation 3. And if you are fortunate enough to have opportunities to go and try the professional ranks, you're going from a 2600 to a PlayStation 5. It's a whole different world and a whole different set of variances that you have to deal with when you get to those different levels. So it could be a humbling experience for certain.
Thank you for sharing that. I know that will help a lot of our athletes. When they hear you say that, it's going to make a huge impact. So thank you. That was like my one question I couldn't wait to hear you answer. How did being an athlete make you a better student? I know we kind of talked about it, but going back, looking at it, do you think that you would have been the student you were if you didn't have the athletic piece?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
I'll just stop you on that question right now. I mean, because what athletics did was it once again gave me this sense of belonging, to be able to engage in something that I love. This was, a lot of these athletes that are pros, they talk about doing it for the love of the game, right? And it's true. When you are playing at the level that I played at, where there really wasn't a lot of implications in terms of financial gain, because we were Division III, you're doing it for the love. Now, could I have left the situation I was in? Absolutely. I don't know that I would have been happy going elsewhere, and I don't know that I would have had the opportunities to have the accolades that you read off earlier had I decided to transfer.
Is it fair to say that you are where you are today because of athletics?
I am. I say that to everybody. If it's not for sports, in my opinion, especially for a kid growing up like me who didn't have a lot of guidance and didn't have a lot of accountability, that accountability did come from sports. It really did. And, when you are a starter in high school and then you're having to miss 6 games because you became ineligible, once again, that's a painful experience that I said, okay, I have to take care of my business in my classrooms. And I know when I get into college, I'm not ever going to put myself in a situation where I'm not eligible to play.
Right.
It's a valuable lesson, but that also forced me to focus on my academics to make sure that I didn't fall behind.
So Dr. Bedell, you are able to relate to where a lot of our athletes are now. What advice can you give some of our seniors that are going on to play the college level next year? Like a first piece of advice, to be specific. You're just getting there. How do you help them settle in?
The easiest thing that you can do going into your university is really demonstrate that you have the ability to work hard and that you're going to be a team player. Get in there and start introducing yourself, get to know some of your teammates. That was one of the things I was trying to figure out when I got on campus. Who are the players here? Honestly, I want to know who they are, and then because the way it works with us in Division III, you're not isolated from everybody. So when there's open gym, this is your opportunity to get in there and kind of show some people what you can do early on.
Right.
So I kind of took advantage of all of those opportunities to do some open gym playing, and everybody's scouting everybody. And
so while you're shooting, you're looking around like,
this person can play or that person can play, or yeah, man, if that person on the team, I probably have a good chance of making the team, But I think really just getting in there and figuring out who your teammates are, and then trying to establish what your routine will be, from a work ethic standpoint. Because at the end of the day, if people see that you are willing to go above and beyond in your work ethics to be a strong athlete, that connects with people pretty fast.
Absolutely, absolutely. So stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break with Dr. Bedell, and we have a special Q&A with Dr. Bedell.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark Bedell, and I am proud to be the superintendent of Anne Arundel County Public Schools, a district of 85,000 students and 14,000 dedicated employees. We are on our way to being the best school system in Maryland, and we could use your help to get there. Consider one of these many careers with us. So what are you waiting for? Apply today and help students like these be
AACPS Awesome!
We are back with Dr. Bedell, who played basketball at the next level. Dr. Bedell, I know we have students here who have dreams of going to the NBA, going to the NFL. Was going to the NBA one of your dreams?
It was. When my teachers told me in the 10th grade, or maybe it was the 11th grade, they said, you'll make for a great teacher one day. And I remember telling them, nah, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to the NBA. And that honestly was my dream. I think at the time, Michael Jordan was a big deal, and I was trying to replicate everything that he was doing on the court, just didn't have the gracefulness that he had with his ability to jump and then just improvise and do things that a normal human couldn't do.
Right.
But that was my aspiration, for certain.
You also had the opportunity to go to an NBA summer pro camp for basketball.
I did.
Can you talk to us about that? That's huge.
At the end of my senior year in 1997, I got invited to 5 NBA pro camps.
Wow.
And I went to one, and I shared with people that somebody paid for me to go to that camp. It was not because I didn't have the money. I learned later on that it was my coach. Oh. And so he paid for me to go to the camp. It was in Chicago. And honestly, it was an experience. You're playing against people who already have contracts overseas. Oh. You're playing against Division I, Division II players that didn't make it into that NBA top 50 camp. And so it is, I mean, it was just different. The person that ran the camp at the time was an assistant coach for New Jersey Net.
Okay.
I think it was probably about 60 people or so at the camp, with only about 8 or 9 that was going to advance to play in the NBA Summer League at UCLA. And I was one of those people who didn't get the phone call, but it was an experience. And I just know when we talk about the pace of the game, it's a whole different world when you talk about pros. I mean, the second they come out and run a play, they only showing you how to run that play one time. You don't pick up what you're supposed to be doing. You're over on the sideline.
Oh,
Those
wow.
reps are critically important if you want exposure to be able to have people make an assessment on you. And we're talking about a 2-day camp. They're making this assessment of you over a 2-day period.
Oh, wow.
It's a whole different world. So I share that with people because I know how cutthroat it is to make the professional ranks in any sport, because I personally lived through it.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so here's the question. Who is your basketball Mount Rushmore?
Wow, it's a tough question. So, oh boy, Michael Jordan, everybody I think will have Michael Jordan on their list.
As what number?
Number one.
Number one.
Number one.
Okay.
People probably then will go and say LeBron number 2.
Okay.
And then for me, there's a couple of people that I just gained a lot of respect for. Kobe Bryant with the 5 NBA championships, and then for me, probably Larry Bird as that 4th one.
Okay.
Larry Bird.
Kevin Durant, where does he place?
He's probably right after. He's right up in that
Okay.
range of. I mean, you still have a lot of other people like Elgin Baylor. You got Kareem. You got Magic Johnson. There's a lot of people who could go on that list. But I'm also looking at championships, and Michael Jordan 6 for 6. LeBron has 4. Kobe has 5. I want to say Bird has about 4 or so. So. And then, of course, the Lakers, I think Magic may have gotten 4 or 5. But, yeah, I think those 4, that's my list.
That's your list. So LeBron or MJ, who's the GOAT?
Well, right now, MJ. I mean, it's hard to beat 6 for 6. And everybody needs to understand this, too. MJ took 2 years in the prime to go play baseball.
Right.
So just imagine what his numbers could have looked like had he played those 2 years, understanding that in those 2 years, they're probably extending their season, going deep into the playoffs, and probably could have won 8 in a row.
Yes. You can't touch that.
Yeah, I
Can't
love
touch
LeBron.
that.
He's right there, but that 6 for 6 deal is a game changer for me when you talk about those two.
Absolutely. I'm going with Jordan too.
Yeah.
I'm going with Jordan too. So we are going to play a little question and answer little mini series. I have invited some of my previous guests back on to ask you a question. They loved that they had this opportunity with you. So we're going to go ahead and allow them to ask you the question,
Okay.
and feel free to answer them and give them the best advice that you can give
Okay.
them.
Hello, Dr. Bedell. My name is Michael Schwob and I go to Brown Neck High School. This fall, I will be attending Penn State University and playing men's volleyball. Dr. Bedell, I once sat in that seat and would like to ask, how did you use time management between sports and school?
That's a great question, Michael. One of the things I tried to do as an athlete was to prioritize my schedule around my requirements as an athlete. So understanding that I had to work out early in the morning. There probably was opportunities to work out again in the evening, or I would say afternoon, and then of course we probably would have our official practices at night. So we have a lot of flexibility in how we're able to build our schedules in college. And so working with your advisor, helping them to understand, here's the other obligations I have. How can I build a schedule that allows for me to be able to get my practices in, but also allows for me to have the proper time to do the studying? So you don't want to overload your schedule. Sometimes people will come in and they want to take 18 hours or 15 hours. and maybe you're starting off reasonably with a 12-hour schedule and then working your way up and building your stamina up to 15, but then understanding that that might have to shift at the height of your season. So depending on what sport you play will generally dictate what type of credit hours you want to build out in your schedule for that first or second semester.
Hi, Dr. Bedell. My name is Natalie Foreman. I go to Chesapeake High School. This fall, I'll be attending St. Joseph University to play field hockey. Dr. Bedell, I once sat in that seat, and I would like to ask you, in your experience, what was the biggest challenge you had faced, and how did you overcome it?
Natalie, the biggest challenge that I faced was probably the semester when I was in college, and I'm on top of that trying to be an athlete. I also pledged during my sophomore year, and that inserted a lot of adversity because some of the requirements of pledging definitely created conflicts with my requirements of being an athlete, in addition to doing the academics. And I will tell you, I took a hit that semester on my grade point average. It didn't drop me to where I was ineligible because I had built it up strong enough. But that was probably the most adverse time of me being a college student, was trying to balance all three of those entities around the same time. But all of that made me a lot stronger as I'm doing the work that I'm doing now as a superintendent, with having so much on your plate. I think that period really taught me how to overcome adversity.
Hello, Dr. Bedell. My name is Amari Porter, and I attend Glen Burnie High School. This fall, I'll be at California State University, Bakersfield. As someone who has sat in your seat, would you say having to maintain a high GPA as well as being a successful athlete helped you to be more efficient in multitasking in your current career?
Amori, the answer to your question is a resounding yes, because if you're able to maintain your GPA while also handling the load of responsibilities from an athletic standpoint, it really does prepare you for your future. And for me, going on to get my doctorate degree and understanding the workload that just inflicts on you, having to write a dissertation or having to take courses that were complex, having that strong GPA and that work ethic really allowed for me to be able to get through my doctoral program. It was hard, but I didn't quit. And I think having that balance of being able to be a strong student while also being a strong, high-performing athlete definitely prepares you for the kind of things that you will do in the future. And for me, being a leader, being a superintendent, responsible for 85,000 students, responsible for over 12,000 employees, yeah, you have to be able to have that balance.
So, Dr. Dre, my name's IB. I go to North County High School. I play football. I'll be attending JMU this fall. I'm a major in sports rec, minor in business. So I've been in your seat before, so I wanted to ask you, what's your motivation to keep going in basketball?
IB, my motivation is I believe in shooting for the moon in everything that I do. Understanding that while I may not ever land on the moon, if I fall short of that, I'm going to land on a few stars. And as a result of that, that means that I'm doing better than what anybody ever thought I could do. That means that also the impact that I'm going to have on anything that I touch is going to result in some type of positive net gain. And that is really how I operate. I've said this when I left Kansas City, that my aspiration is to be Secretary of Education. I don't know that I'll ever get there, but striving to say that I want to be at the highest level possible will put me in a position where my impact will be felt in a very positive way.
Hello, Dr. Bedell. My name is Rashawn, and I go to Chesapeake High School. This fall, I will be attending Wake Forest University and playing football. I once sat in that seat, and I would like to ask, what songs are on your warm-up playlist?
Rashawn, I would say back then, it was No Limit, Soldiers from New Orleans. It was Wu-Tang Clan from New York. Yeah, I was really into that. It was Outkast, Goody Mob, because those were some of the Southern rappers. Because, when you're working out and you're playing sports like that, generally you're listening to a lot of rap music because that was our era of growing up. I would say now I still listen to rap, but I mean, my playlist is just different. Like, I'm into jazz now. It just depends on the mood. When I'm cutting my grass, it may be that I'm turning on some R&B. I have soft rock on my playlist. I have a rock and roll playlist. I just love music, and so it just depends on the mood. But when it comes to getting ready to play sports or basketball, I tend to go to some of my rap music.
Hi, Dr. Bedell. My name is Lexi Jupak, and I'm a senior at Broad Knight High School. In the fall, I'll be attending the University of Maryland, where I'll be playing women's lacrosse. I once sat in that same seat, and now my question to you is, what is the best piece of advice you could give a high school senior that's going to college next year?
Lexi, the best piece of advice that I can give a high school senior going into college is to don't go in under the mindset that you already have it all together. None of us entering college generally have it together. I think it's a process of really learning and understanding what that world is like. And I would say to come in with your ears open, your eyes open wide, ready to just learn and take in as much as you can, because eventually you will be that person that will be imparting knowledge on those that are coming behind you. But as a freshman, just take it all in. I would say be thankful for the opportunities that you have, because you are arguably going to be in a position that probably less than 2% of people will ever get to experience, as a 5-star athlete who's being highly recruited. And don't take any of it for granted. I watch Second Chance University or Second Chance U. I watch that on Netflix. And I listen to some of these athletes who were highly regarded as potential kids that were going to go to the NBA, but then weren't coachable, weren't open to the criticism that came with it, or just weren't humble enough to wait until it was their time. So that would be my advice for you.
Hello, Dr. Bedell. My name is Ethan Beaumont. I am a senior at Bedell High School. I will attend Anne Arundel Community College next fall. Once I sat in that seat, since I love music, I want to ask, what is on your playlist? When you play basketball or working out?
Ethan, I will say when I work out, my music listen, I didn't talk about this in one of the previous questions, but I do have a robust old school playlist with the Commodores, with Confunction, with Earth, Wind and Fire, Kool in the Gang. And I love that music, right? So if I'm like working out, lifting weights, or on a treadmill, sometimes I will tune into that playlist. But if I'm getting ready to get into some competition, I'm going to go back to my music that gets me really excited and get me energized to get out and really compete at a high level. Generally, I'm going to go to my rap playlist and listen to some of the songs that I have on that playlist.
Thank you, Dr. Bedell, for being here today and sharing your personal story with us. I'm inspired. I know our athletes and our students are going to be inspired when they see this episode of The Next Level. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you. I like to close our show with a quote from an inspiring athlete. Today I chose a quote from an inspiring coach. "Don't let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do," said the legend John Wooden, who is considered the greatest NCAA basketball head coach of all time. Thank you for joining us on The Next Level. I am Katie Holmes and hope that you will join us next time. Thank you for watching.